But right now, Victor Gyökeres looks as though he's chosen Arsenal over a move potentially to Old Trafford and Manchester United. But the six-time Premier League winner Rio Ferdinand told Nick Kyrgios's podcast Wimbledon Unfiltered that he's not bothered because he's got another striker in mind.
I've said Osimhen for a while now, and he's a centre forward, he's experienced, he knows how to score goals at the top level. I see today, I think they're saying that Galatasaray put a £50 million bid in. I mean, £50 million to get a top-class striker, one of the top strikers in the world, is absolute peanuts in today's market. So I'll be disappointed if he goes to Galatasaray for that type of money when Man United, I think, are crying out for a number 9. I'll be disappointed to miss out on Gyökeres if we don't get a number 9 in. Yeah. But if we got Osimhen, then I wouldn't be too concerned.
I mean, look, Andy, Osimhen's not a daft shout at all.
Not
he
at all.
Scores a lot of goals. I think their issue is, I don't know the financial situation there, but until they get Sancho, Rashford, Garnacho, Anthony out of the door, I'm not so sure that £50 million is peanuts for United.
No, I agree with that. Look, it's amazing how there's such a dearth of nines, genuine number 9s out there now. It's bizarre how football has moved on into where we find ourselves now in this one position, the best position to operate in. If you're a footballer, if you're good at being a number 9, you got literally the world at your feet, and it's bizarre. I think we really are talking about 3 or 4 across the board now that you can actually go to and choose from.
Yeah. Dean Saunders was making that very point yesterday. He said they don't make him like him anymore.
Well, exactly. He would do Dino, but you know, he was. I mean, Dino was a guy that could play up front on his own. I know that's the way it is now, because of his prodigious work rate. He used to run everywhere, Dean, as well as get his goals. But Osimhen, I'm just trying to think about the type of centre forward. I mean, I know that United fans give us anyone that's half decent with a bit of a pedigree. The type of 9, Jeff, that they need. Do they want someone that's going to turn and run and looking to just get in behind all the time? Someone that Bruno can maybe find a little bit here and there? Or do they want something that just might face up? And I mean, Rasmus Højlund is so poor at that part of his game in terms of holding the ball up, the very basic for a biggish lad to just get hold of it, hang on to it, protect it, and then drop it off to 1 or 2 that are coming onto him. He's really poor at that. That's been a facet of his game that just hasn't improved at all. But do they need an Osimhen, or do they want to have a Gyökeres as well? Someone that just might be able to hang on to it a little bit more. We'll see. They need something. They've got to get a body in there, something with that can give their fans a bit of hope. And again, when we're coming back to what we said earlier about João Pedro, Jeff, whoever they do sign, please don't just kind of, drip feed him into life as a Man United player. Get him out there, get him in there, and say, away you go, get on with it. And you just might be surprised that someone might get up and running with a few goals in their first 6 games.
Don't grow on trees, do they?
No.
A reminder, by the way, you can catch the full interview with Rio Ferdinand on talkSPORT's YouTube channel. Let's find out if United are any closer to any movement in or out with this man.
Rookies Roundup, right here every day. Rookies Roundup, which players are on their way. If an agent's got a story.
Hello, Alex Crook. What you got for me?
Crookie gets it first.
Yeehaw, cowboy. There's a snake in my boot.
Transfer window hotting up, bit around of all the movers and shakers. talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook. Morning, Crookie.
Good morning.
Morning, Crookie. How are you? I thought you'd be line dancing up and down the living room there. That little jingle.
I don't think anybody wants to see that, to be honest.
Yeah. Look, Rio wants to see Victor Osimhen at Old Trafford. It's unlikely to happen, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I know that Galatasaray are really trying to push this deal. Napoli have turned down their initial offer, but he's already agreed personal terms. I'm with Rio and with Andy, to be honest. I think Osimhen he's been there, he's got the T-shirt. I think his game would translate very well to the Premier League. I'm surprised there's not more Premier League interest, really, considering, as Andy has alluded to, and we spoke about it with Dino yesterday, that the lack of number 9s that are out there. All the big clubs in England seem to be fishing from quite a small pond at the moment, a pond involving Gyökeres, Benjamin Šeško, Ugo Ekitike at Frankfurt, and Osimhen, very much the odd man out. Maybe it's his reputation character-wise, maybe it's that he commands big wages, but you'd imagine that top clubs in the Premier League should be able to match whatever Galatasaray are offering, and I think it's a big issue when it comes to Manchester United. Yes, Matheus Cunha is through the door. Yes, they still expect to sign Bryan Mbeumo, and Brentford are anticipating that will happen as well. But who plays up front? I mean, Mbeumo could do it, but he's not an out-and-out number 9. And Rasmus Højlund, by the end of that Europa League final, by the end of last season, his confidence looked absolutely shot to bits, didn't it?
Yeah, well, Andy Crookie, Jack's texted in, and it's Crystal Palace fans, fingers in ears, but Jean-Philippe Mateta, blindingly obvious, isn't it?
Well, he's someone that Manchester United have certainly cast admiring glances in the direction of. He's on their list. Difficult to get out of Palace, I would imagine. Obviously, they can offer European football now, which Manchester United can't. But listen, it's still the allure of going to Old Trafford. Matheus Cunha snubbing bigger offers, and Mbeumo doing the same in terms of clubs in the Champions League to go and play there. But at the moment, there's no obvious sign that United are going to press that button when it comes to Mateta. But he's done it in the Premier League, and that is very much Manchester United's modus operandi this summer. They want players proven in English football. So, yeah, that's not the worst shout in the world at all.
Why does it always take so long, Crookie, for United? I mean, look, I know that they've got Cunha. Mbeumo now, we've been talking about Mbeumo to United it's been a while now, isn't it? That's been out there. Wirtz comes into Liverpool, they get that done, they go the extra whatever it needs to get the deal done and over the line. For such a crucial position for United this year, seemingly, why is it dragging its heels a little bit looking for that number 9?
Well, it's more than a month since we first reported the interest in Bryan Mbeumo. So you're absolutely right. And United fans, I think, are a bit agitated that the team have returned for pre-season training. A team who finished 15th in the Premier League last season, their worst ever Premier League finish. And they've only got one new player through the door. I'm sure Ruben Amorim shares those frustrations. They've not been brilliant negotiators in the last decade or so, certainly since David Gill left the football club. And I think they're determined not to be seen to be overpaying for players. I don't think we're talking a million miles apart in terms of what they're willing to pay for Mbeumo and Brentford's valuation. So I do think it's just a case of dotting the I's and crossing the T's. But absolutely, Manchester United fans, and I'm sure the manager will want this deal sewn up as soon as possible. It has been suggested to me that United are confident they can get it done before they go on their pre-season tour of the US, but it was suggested to me 2 weeks ago that he was all set for a medical last week, and that didn't happen. So I'm not going to count too many chickens.
Well, a former Manchester United player who does look like he's going to be on the move is Anthony Elanga, getting close to a move to St James's Park. And talking of Newcastle, looks like Callum Wilson and Sean Longstaff could both be on their way out, maybe both to Leeds.
Yeah, definitely interest in both those players from Leeds United. I think Longstaff is someone that Newcastle are reluctantly willing to cash in on because obviously they've got that midfield trio that was so successful for them last season. It's difficult for Longstaff to gate crash his way into the starting 11. In terms of Elanga, this is a big one for Newcastle to get over the line because it's been a frustrating summer for them so far. They spoke to Dean Howson before he went to Real Madrid. They spoke to Mbeumo, but he made it clear that he only really had eyes on Manchester United. They're not at the moment close to signing James Trafford, who's been a long-term Eddie Howe target. So I think that statement signing, £55 million plus some add-ons, according to Forest, is good news for Eddie Howe. And this is a player that, again, has been on their radar for some time. They tried to get him at the end of the January transfer window. Couldn't quite happen then. And I think he's a player who really fits into Eddie Howe's system. But this is good news for Manchester United as well because they have a 20% sell-on clause. They're going to get about £8 million from this deal, and maybe that might just help them get the Mbeumo one over the line. It's a 5-year contract for Elanga, and big move for him and a big move for Newcastle.
And it's been a bit quiet, Crookie, so far. There's been a lot of talk, speculation. We're reading about the same 2 or 3 players, really. In general, it's all been a bit quiet out there.
It started quickly. You know, there was a lot of deals done before the Club World Cup. Manchester City were busy. Obviously, Chelsea signing the likes of Liam Delap and latterly João Pedro. as well. I think there was always going to be a bit of a lull while Chelsea and City were at the Club World Cup. Obviously, players have been away on holiday, clubs really only reporting back for pre-season this week. I do expect it to crank up. I think it's going to be a really busy summer window because there's so many teams in need of a rebuild. Thomas Frank so far has kept his powder dry at Tottenham, for example, but he's going to want to be backed in the window. You've got those newly promoted clubs. Sunderland, I've been quite impressed with the business they've done so far. You mentioned Leeds there with Longstaff and Callum Wilson. Burnley, obviously, got Carl Walker through the door. I do think, and I think it's good for the Premier League, those three coming up this time around are going to be more competitive than the teams that have come up for the Championship in the last couple of seasons.
Crookie, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Alex.
Cheers, guys.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.